If you're gonna start a mission, make sure it starts with J. Here's your look at brand new Hiya toys, G.I. Joe Exquisite Mini, Lady J. A master of blending in wherever she goes, Lady J doesn't just disguise herself as her subject, she becomes her subject. She mimics body language, quirks and dialect, and even the subtle gestures that mark each person like a fingerprint. She speaks countless languages with a perfect accent, enabling her to go undercover in any region around the globe and spy on Cobra operations. This brand new Lady J figure stands at 102 millimeters tall and features 17 points of articulation, faithfully recreating original design from G.I. Joe, from basic olive drab work outfit to tactical belt, tactical backpack, and other accessories. Even the 1/18 scale, no detail is spared. Some exquisite detail in the guise of 1/18 scale. Just before, of course, we get a closer look at the new G.I. Joe Exquisite Mini Lady J from G.I. Joe, I'd like to thank, if I can, the folks over at Hiya Toys that kindly provided this sample. I'm going to, of course, also grab the tape measure, and in a second, I'll also bring in some of the other G.I. Joe Exquisite Minis we've already had a look at. Tape measure, though, right now is telling us that the figure of Lady J stands at 4 inches in height, or the figure is going to be about 9.5 centimeters tall. And as for those other Joes, what we have right now, at least, is Beachhead. We've been kind of outnumbered right now by Cobras. Of course, looking at the ones we've already had a look at, here's what the figure looks like with Cobra Commander. Here's what she also looks like as well with Destro. And off to the other side, not that he's switched sides, but here's what the figure also looks like with Firefly. Some amendments after the reviews of things I'd wanted to talk about as well. When we looked at, say, Beachhead, for example, I said he had a knife on the side that wasn't unsheathable, and sure enough, it was. After the review, I was kind of playing around with it a little bit more, and yes, the knife is something I can remove on the side of his leg. Other things I certainly also wanted to mention as well, if I get Beachhead just to stand here for a second. Bringing in the backpack that he also came included with. I did say, though, that there looked to be like a little indentation right here that looked like it should have housed something. Sure enough, though, if you have yourself the crossbow, there's a slot right there. It's almost really hard to see. And the more time that I spent after the review looking and identifying that section, I noticed, though, that it fit perfectly the handle. And you can just actually take the handle of the crossbow and you can fit inside like that. So there's some storage space for the crossbow. The other thing I did also want to mention as well with Firefly. Firefly had, of course, the drone on the top, but he then also had a remote control, and I couldn't find a place for that. Sure enough, it's nowhere near on the front of the bag, but if you look at the back of the bag, there's an indentation right here. Something I didn't spot right away, but I spotted after. In fact, you can take yourself the remote control. It sits inside, and it sits pretty well. You may have to, in fact, get yourself a little screwdriver to fish that back out. But yeah, there's storage spaces available on some of the accessories that came with the earlier looked at G.I. Joe figures. Stop talking about the accessories that came included with the other Joes and start talking instead about the accessories that come included with Lady J. How about things first? We look at the display stand. I think, in fact, it's the same display stand that both Firefly and Destro had. Same type of terrain, and also attached the exact same way as well. If you look at the bottom of the base, covering already, I know, this territory. There's slots on the side. Yes, there's slots here as well. You can get yourself these eye brackets, and you put them in, and basically, if you have yourself multiple display stands, I don't really have them right now available. Do I? Maybe I do. Let's just grab one of them off to the side here. I just actually had them over here. Grabbing another one of the ones that came included with one of the Joes, we're just going to attach the two together. And that eye bracket, I mean, really don't even need more than one. One is just enough. You can see it keeps the terrain together. Nice way of displaying the figures. And if you alternate way as well the pegs, if having one up here and then having one down here, it doesn't look like they're literally standing next to each other. Just like the idea that Hiya keeps continuing to do this. And it's not just exclusive to Joe's either, no. They've done that, in fact, with other exquisite minis as well. Looking at the other accessories that come included with Lady J, well, we'll just put the other eye bracket over there. The figure, first of all, comes included with a backpack. The backpack's rather interesting because it does have itself like a little search spotlight. There's a hinge right here, so this allows the neck to move up and down. So if you wanted to have it a little bit more closer to the backpack, you can also pull that off as well. This hinges up, and then there's a hinge right here, so you can move this back and forth. And in fact, there's also a hinge up at the top. It gets a little loose, unfortunately, here, though. The pin, I'm not sure if there's a way to go in there and tighten that. You can see, though, they've done a nice job of giving an aged look to the backpack. Looks like it's got some pockets, a larger pack down below here as well, and a stripe of silver along the top. This also looks like something with the way that the handle's designed here that she'd be able to carry this around. Maybe, in fact, she could actually put it down in maybe an area that's slightly darker. and it'd be able to illuminate the area around her. Of course, you could take this. There's a peg after all there. If you look on the back of the figure's body, right around the bandolier, there's a hole here and there's a hole here on her torso. You have to line up both of them together, obviously. And once you get that in place, just take then the peg and you just want to twist it onto her back. As you're doing this, of course, you're probably going to have to twist it back and forth. But there you go. That's what the backpack looks on the back of Lady Jaye. It's not, though, quite the same color as the rest of her outfit. I think it probably could have worked a little bit better instead of actually using green had they used a different color instead. But all in all, though, a nice looking little backpack. You'll notice also here on the side that she does have a peg here and a peg here. That's because she also comes included with another accessory. I don't know how well she's actually going to stand with the backpack. You know what? We'll try. We'll give it a try. In fact, actually, you know what? This whole time talking about it earlier, got myself a display stand. Let's just take Lady Jaye. She does have the pegs on the bottoms of her feet. Attach it onto the display stand, just like that. Did I get it all the way on there? I think I did. I think I did. There we go. Just get her to stand for a second. That way I know she's not going to fall over. She does come included with the spear, and the vintage G.I. Joe Lady Jaye did also have this spear. I mean, really, every iteration of Lady Jaye always comes included with something like this, a little harpoon spear that she throws. Would it be a baton? I don't think it would be a baton. The original toy would have had something very similar to this, but this would have all been one piece. So the original vintage Lady Jaye, for example, would have had a handle, so it wouldn't just been a case that she would have been holding it like this. She would have held it by use of a handle. Some of the later released Lady Jayes of smaller size, and even like the larger classified series, have also done this as well. She gets this gun that, for all intents and purposes, would probably fire the harpoon out. Basically, just take that and slides it in place. So if you want to, you can either have her displayed holding it like this, or you can have her displayed holding it like this. If you choose to have it this way, or yeah, I guess even if you don't want to have it displayed that way, maybe you might be able to spot already that there's holes on the sides. Those holes, going back to what we talked about earlier, on the back of her backpack, there's those pegs. You can just take yourself the gun end of it and just attach this in place. So she's got some storage space there as well. And really, too, because also this, we already looked at this, you could store really for all intents and purposes, you could display all the accessories on the back of her body that way as well. Take this off. Actually, you know what? In fact, we'll remove the backpack too. There we go. And let's also take this off. Now, this does fit into her hands, so already what you can do, because she does have gripping hands, you can take the spear, slide it into her hand. The hand actually has pretty soft plastic for the fingers, so I've noticed, though, she has a harder time to hold some of the things like this. Now, she does also have alternate hands as well that has a slightly smaller grip. You might find it's actually the better hands for the job, but just because, again, I'm using these hands for right now, we're going to swap the hands out in a second. Just want to get them in there just to give you at least the idea of what the hands would do if you want to have her holding a spear. So you're obviously doing it like that. Or what you can also do too is you can take yourself the gun. Now, the problem with the gun is if you're looking at the way the handle's designed, it's going to already be a hard thing for her hands to get around this. You kind of have to slide the handle down here and wrap the thumb around. It holds okay, but half the time it usually just ends up falling out of her hand. It was actually easier for me, I found, if you take this handle and you take this hand. Doesn't have to necessarily be this hand either. You could easily swap it around. Take the handle in that way first, then just bend the elbows. Get the hand then on the other side. This may take a little bit of moving things around, but essentially you can have it where this hand's doing more of the job of holding the handles, and then you just sort of have to get the other hand kind of wrapped around the handle like that. It's obviously not the easiest thing to do. You can also put the hand a little further back as well, and she can hold it that way. Of course, then you can take yourself the harpoon. Are we calling it a harpoon? Are we calling it a spear? Anyways, we'll just slide that in place. So Lady Jaye, in essence, could hold the gun that way as well. The other thing that the figure does also come included with, I know I had already mentioned this, is that she does also have some swappable hands. Ideally, these would be the better hands to use if you want to have her just holding the harpoon as it is. The hands themselves, it's just a case of wiggling hands off the provided posts. There we go. I do actually like also that they made the pegs a green color, just so it has an easier time for your eyes at least, especially if you've got old man eyes like myself. It makes things a little bit more easier than to see where you're going with this. Again, we're just going to twist the hand onto the peg. Such small hands. Such small hands, he says. I might not even be able to get this on right now, but You know what, let's put the other hand back in. I know that the other hand belongs there. We'll swap maybe then the hand out a little bit later at the end of this review. The other thing that she also has as well is a knife. Now, learning already from my experiences with Beachhead, the knife is something that can go on the figure's body. It doesn't come with the figure when you get her out of the packaging, where you have to then be surprised that something is removable on her. In fact, if you look at her belt and spin this around, she's got a sheath. Actually, you don't even have to spin it around that far. She's got a sheath right here. Here is where the biggest problem lies when it comes to Lady Jaye. It's taking this knife and getting into this sheath. You have to kind of get it around. Well, let's just move her arm up just a little bit. And I can't even say, like, would there be an easier way to have done this? I suppose you could have maybe put the sheath here rather than up in her belt. You could also as well slide the belt down too. The problem that is going to now be caused by this is with the handle so close to her torso. As you're wiggling the torso back and forth, you're going to find that it's coupling against the handle. I myself would have just preferred to have the knife left off altogether, but there's the option available there if you want to. Let's just go ahead and take the knife out for right now. Put it off to the side. Now, getting a closer look at Lady Jaye. If you're familiar with the vintage toy, then you may recognize her appearance here. She is sporting a cap. No alternate head is provided here for Jaye. The hat is obviously not removable, but it's got some decent sculpting to the hat itself. You can see there's the star with the swoosh just behind that. Nicely colored in a very dark blue. The face is well painted. It doesn't quite 100% match the coloring of the top of her neck. It's a little bit lighter. It's sort of like she has spray tan here, and she has spray tan here. And maybe she had been wearing a necklace or something covering that part of her neck, because it's the only part that's a little bit more bare. Still, though, the details aren't lost on me. I love the way they've sculpted and painted the hair. It's generally quite clean, considering that this is such a small piece after all. Other than really a fact that she doesn't look much like the cartoon just because she's wearing the hats, the rest of the body is very much cartoon Lady Jaye. They have added a few extra darker greens that wouldn't have already been there. They've also added kneecaps that wouldn't have been there either, and even shin guards there as well. Figure all in all is really nicely done. When it comes to the construction, though, of the figure, and we'll talk more about that, obviously, when we get to the figure's posability, I couldn't help but notice, though, with mine, that the arm was a little loose on this side. This arm isn't so bad at all. This one, I did notice taking out of the packaging, is a little on the loosier side. I wonder if there's a way to actually take this off. I'm not going to do it right now, just for the risk that could break potentially a peg. I'm wondering if I can maybe remove the arm and maybe see if I can add something to the joint just to make this a little bit tighter. Speaking, though, of joints, the figure's articulation is the following. Lady Jaye's head will rotate all the way around. You can have the head looking down and up and back and forth, but only just a little bit. The upper torso is going to be on a ball joint. The bandolier does flop around a little bit. You could really take this off also, too. It's not necessarily dedicated to anything on her body. I mean, if you want to leave it off if you want to. I'm just going to leave it on myself. The belt is also, again, a looser piece as well. Upper torso is going to be on a ball joint. The lower abdomen also seems to be on a ball joint. The arms for her rotate all the way around. You can hinge them out at 90 degrees. The figure does have, already mentioned, a swivel at the, well, not at the top of the sleeve. Would that be the top of the sleeve? The part of the sleeve that's rolled up. I guess that would be the top of the sleeve. No, I guess with the top of the, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Swivel here, though, where the sleeve is, there's also a single hinge in the elbow, and the arms rotate back and forth. Just, well, it's a little harder to kind of do that. Hands rotate also all the way around, whether you use these hands or you try your best to get the other hands in place. Legs split out. You can, of course, drop the legs down as well. There's a swivel about 3/4 of the way up the thigh that allows the leg to rotate all the way around. A double hinge, though, is also on Lady Jaye. She does have a hinge on the ankle, and you can also rock it back and forth. I know we've already looked at this as well. I'll mention it again. Figure does have pegals on the bottoms of her feet. Lady Jaye looks good, other than maybe just the conflict I have. I don't even say I want to really say it's a conflict, even though I had a bit of an issue with the looser arm. That's something I'm sure I could probably go in there and fix. I like the look of Lady Jaye. If you like the more look to the vintage Lady Jaye, obviously with her sporting the hat without, because in the cartoon she normally would have not had the hat. It's a nice looking Lady Jaye. Of course, bringing in Beachhead right now. Since at the time of doing this video as well, Hiya has, if they haven't already, released a Flint. They're also releasing a Stalker. And I've also got eyes honing in on their bareness. That bareness is looking fantastic. Of course, why not? We can also bring in some of the Cobras as well. We can share the space together just before we wrap up this review. Firefly, there's Cobra Commander. How about maybe have Destro switch sides, put him over here as well. The thing I really like about the Joe line so far is that there's tons of stuff going into them. I mean, lots of different accessories, some of which, of course, also are throwbacks to the original toy. So she has like the harpoon spear. And she also has like the equivalent of what would be the gun that kind of like, because in the original toy, this basically would have all been the same molded silver as the spear or harpoon itself. This, what they've done instead, as most G.I. Joe releases of Lady Jaye have been in recent memories, they usually end up having them as separate pieces. Like that they included it. It's a little harder just with the way they've designed the handle here to fit around her hand. But as you saw in this review, if you just have her holding it on this side, then you can get the other hand wrapped around, and then this hand's going to be doing more of the work. Lady Jaye looks good. I like also the backpack too. That's also a really nice touch. I probably would have maybe done a different color than the green just because, again, like she's got so much green already on her. But yeah. Big fan of Lady Jaye in the cartoon. Big fan of this Lady Jaye from Hiya Toys as well. Other than leaving the knife off because I found it was more cumbersome than anything else, as you can probably see here in final looks of Lady Jaye, everything else can be displayed with the figure, whether it be in her hands like the harpoon spear or all the other accessories attached onto the backpack. The pack is one thing I do really like about the character, the fact that it has a swing out search spotlight like that. It also looks like there's a handle on the top of it, so if she doesn't want to have it on her back, it looks like she'd have the means to maybe carry it around with her to illuminate the areas for the Joes. The backpack, though, being a different color of green, probably does work in the end a little bit better than having it the exact same green. The original vintage version of Lady Jaye did in fact have a green backpack, and I think it also matched the same color as her uniform. So giving it a different color is a nice way to break up a little bit of the green that she already has so much of it on her body. Now this is based more on the original vintage Lady Jaye, where she does have the bald cap as opposed to just her regular hair. If you are one that likes more the look of the original 80s figure of Lady Jaye, then you're probably going to be more interested in the look of this one rather than one that's inspired by the cartoons. It would have been fun if they could have released a second version of Lady Jaye without the bald cap, but because again, like this character is based on more the original Hasbro release of her, I can understand why they went this direction as well. Some of the changes are made by Hiya Toys, but not to the extreme, I feel, of Beachhead. Beachhead still looked a lot like Beachhead. I think Lady Jaye looks the most like her original vintage toy. What do you guys think of this figure? Let me know down below in the comments section. Could this be one that you guys could see yourselves picking up? A big thank you again to the folks over at Hiya Toys that did provide this sample of the brand new Exquisite, meaning G.I. Joe member, Lady Jaye. If you guys did enjoy this video, do it a solid. Throw it a like. You guys want to stick around for more so? I hope so. I went for the dramatic pause. Yeah, I hope so. If you guys did also want to make sure you're coming back on a regular basis, just because we're wrapping up things right now for G.I. Joe's, there's a lot more videos coming your way for the rest of this week. So as always, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.